I'm live. First of all, let me see if I'm live. I'm not sure I am. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm live. Excellent. All right. Let's make sure the screen is visible. I have to go to my restream. 1 second. There we go. Right. I'm going to plug me in there. Good. Let's see if there's anybody in the chat room. Good. And then, you know what I'm going to do also? I'm going to pull this post up here in the background. And I can look at
this one.
That's the one I want. Hold on 1 second. Okay, great. Okay, so I want to do this about a 5-minute video on AI versus Bitcoin. Now, everybody now is very excited about the upcoming IPOs that are happening in the and stock market action on AI related stocks. So we have Micron, Marvell, NVIDIA. There's all kinds of stocks now that are soaring, even HPE, Hewlett Packard Enterprises, that are soaring on this AI play. But we really have a couple ones, monster IPOs that are happening. We have SpaceX, which includes, of course, XAI, that is going public at about 1.7 trillion. We have Anthropic, which is rumored to be going public at about 1 trillion, and OpenAI, which is going public at about 1 trillion. So together, this is the market cap at sort of IPO. These guys are all together raising about 1 trillion USD from the markets, right? That's going to go into just these three companies. Now, the question is this a great place to park your money? Debatable. And let's talk about that because, there's a lot of people are sort of saying, well, this is very similar to the way Google IPO'd, and they IPO'd in August of 2004. And let's just take a look back at that, right? So Google went public in 2004, and they went public at, however, $29 billion, right? So you can see right off the top, these companies are being valued at 30 times the rate that Google went when they went public. Now, obviously, dollars are not the same, but they're not even, I would say maybe double, right? So still a 15x difference between where these new guys are being valued and Google. Now, when Google went public, however, it was highly profitable, okay? Highly profitable, and it was trading at something like 20 times revenue. 20 times rev. These ones are trading at hundreds of times revenue. So from a valuation perspective, these things are way higher than Google is, right? And I would say by 2004, Google already had a clear monopoly in search. Here we have a very different situation. We have 4 companies, XAI, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Gemini from Google, that are all competing very much for the same LLM user, right? And these are very much substitutable goods. So if you're using OpenAI right now as a user, if you want to go and start going to Claude, not a problem. You can just fire up your browser with Claude. You don't really care that much about your chat history. It doesn't really remember that much. It doesn't remember that much about you. So you as a user can go from OpenAI to Gemini very easily, or from Claude to OpenAI very easily, or the other way around, right? So you can switch these things very easily. Now, you can buy, if you're a coder right now, Anthropic is pretty much the best coding platform out there. I think a lot of people would agree. But Gemini, Ben, what would you say, Gemini? How far behind are some of these other tools? 10%, 20%?
It really depends. Gemini is, I mean, Google has a lot. Google has the most data.
Yeah.
And Google has the TPU chips, which I don't completely understand the differences between these TPUs and GPUs and everything, but they have hardware, they have data, and they have money. So they might be behind in terms of coding now,
Right.
But that's a subset of the total market. So
Right.
I think Google's going to come out as a major winner, probably. But if I was going to bet on any of the big existing companies like Google, I think it's
These four.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know. It's interesting. Gemini is not competing with coding, right? But
Yeah.
but XAI is also feels like it's not really competing with coding.
They're trying. They've got this Grok heavy.
Grok build, I'm trying it.
Yeah.
It's insanely fast, but it's just not as slick.
Right.
So in terms of like, I mean, Anthropic's clearly the way ahead now, but you know, that's just
But
one
coding
subset of the market.
coding is not everything.
Coding's not everything.
I mean, a lot of individual users prefer OpenAI. If you're going to generate like images for Twitter,
Most of my
OpenAI.
friends use OpenAI.
Yeah.
They don't use Claude.
they don't.
They use ChatGPT. But I will say one thing about Gemini is they have a very strong open source model too. So one of the ways they're fighting these guys is by letting you use this Gemma 4 model for free.
Mm-hmm.
And people are loving that Gemma 4 model.
Okay.
So there's also open source models competing in this market that are free to use if you have a strong enough computer.
Right.
Right. Or you could subscribe to these other services where
So
you run
then
these free
we
ones.
have these Chinese models, right? So we have
DeepSeek
DeepSeek,
and GLM 5.1 and Kimi.
GLM 5.1.
GLM 5.1 and Kimi K26. It's crazy names. KIMI. Yeah.
Okay, so
So yeah, I think GLM, DeepSeek, and Kimi, and this company Lindy AI, which has an AI assistant, is not doing that. No, but they just switched from Anthropic to DeepSeek today, and so they're saving millions of dollars.
So I talked to a AI company founder yesterday, and his AI bill, he's doing, I won't say exactly what he's doing, but he's sort of in the property management kind of field, and his AI bill is $60,000 a month just for tokens. So, you know, I'm not sure even where he's using it, but you know, would he switch to DeepSeek? Sure. If he could save him 60 grand a month, that might be the difference between him being profitable or not, right? So this is a highly competitive area. Not at all clear that, you know, who's going to win. And all these companies here, in terms, these actual companies are losing tons of money. So if you look at SpaceX.
How much money? Do we know how much money they're losing?
Yeah.
But they're not public yet.
They have disclosed it in the filing documents, like
Okay.
Anthropic filed.
How much are they losing?
I mean, an enormous amount.
5 billion a year or something crazy, or
More than that.
more?
Yeah. So basically, you have these companies that are losing billions of dollars a year, and they're competing against other companies.
Not
So-
Google though. Google's not losing.
Well, Google, the AI part of Google is, but they're subsidizing it with the other part that's making money. And so that's what's happening with XAI too, right? They're using the Starlink, which is highly profitable, to fund this, and that's why I think Elon decided to fold it into space.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because he felt like, okay, how do I look like as a standalone company versus these three? not that great, right? Like how Grok versus these three, kind of tough. Is that worth billions of dollars or, quote unquote, maybe even a trillion dollars? Probably not, right? They're definitely in fourth place right now. So this is just a hyper competitive world. And, we've had these hyper competitive worlds in history. So, let's just take telecom. Tom Young was in the telecom business for a long time. And telecom, you had AT&T, WorldCom, which no longer exists, right? And MCI. These things, again, went into a battle royale to see who could lay it on the most fiber and, serve the telecom needs of the world. And it was just a complete disaster, right? All these companies went bankrupt. Now, are all these companies going to go bankrupt? Who knows? But it's probably not going to end up good for all of them, right? Now, one of the things that Jordy Visser made a point of is that right now the S&P 500 is pretty much the entire growth in it is the AI stocks. That's it, right? So we have these money-losing companies now are basically going to replace. So we've got this S&P was pretty profitable, right? But now we've got the S&P is now going to be.
So when these companies go public, they're going to end up in the S&P because their market cap.
So this is one of the points I made in the tweet is let's just look at kind of the S&P.
You should wipe.
Yeah, let me wipe. So if you look here at let's look at kind of why is America doing so well and Europe not doing so well? Fang. I have a different name for it.
Yeah.
Gamma.
Because it's really Google at the top.
Yeah. So you have Google.
Is that the top by profitability?
No, I just like this.
You like Gamma better.
Amazon, right?
So it's not Netflix.
Microsoft and Meta,
yeah.
and Apple, right? I call it Gamma. Now, if you look at Gamma,
what happened to Netflix?
They're not important. Doesn't matter, right? Like, they're not Netflix is not changing the world, right? And the other two in the Mag 7 are Tesla and Nvidia, right? Which I'm going to throw out of here right now.
Gamma?
What? But anyways, let's just look at these 5 stocks, right? Google is a monopoly. They have a complete monopoly on search. Do we agree?
I mean, people are not using
Bing. DuckDuckGo.
I bet the #1 search in DuckDuckGo is Google.
Yeah.
I need to Google
so
this. Yeah.
Nobody is using anything else other than Google. So they have all the attention from search, which means they get all the money from AdWords. And, they've used that to build out Google Docs and all the rest. But they have their entire business is predicated on this complete monopoly in search, right? Do Europeans have a monopoly in anything? No, they have no monopoly. They have monopoly in French yogurts, Danone. And they have a monopoly in sort of luxury perfumes and wines and stuff like that. But no serious tech monopoly. Amazon, monopoly and e-commerce, right? I mean, it's insane. There is no competitor. You're not going to Best Buy and ordering,
Target.com,
Walmart, like at one point they tried to compete, Walmart.com. Well, you never hear that name anymore, right? Microsoft, monopoly in corporate IT. You go to any law office, any
doctor's office, dentists,
they're all using Microsoft.
Real estate.
They're all using Microsoft. So corporate
insurance.
Yeah.
Finance.
Right.
100% of them are using.
Right. So you got 3 monopolies. Meta, monopoly on social. Now you could say, but Fred, what about
TikTok?
What about
X?
What about X? Okay, well I'll tell you about X. X has 500 million daily uniques, monthly uniques.
Meta
Meta has
2 billion.
Has $3 billion from Facebook and $3 billion from Instagram.
And then add in WhatsApp.
Yeah, and then you add WhatsApp. It's
There's another 3 billion at least.
WhatsApp, okay? So my point is, this is like, whatever, look, I'm very proud of the fact that I have 287,000 followers on X.
You spend way more time on X than WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook.
But, if I'm, compared to,
But our Gishti spends 0 time on X, and he's always sending me stuff from Instagram.
okay, well, people have different things, but my point is, social is really not X. It's really Instagram and Facebook, right? So Meta has the monopoly on social. So if you're going to buy traffic right now, you have to buy traffic from Meta. That's where people are. That's where the world lives. They live on Instagram and on Facebook. Apple has the monopoly on consumer, on high-end consumer. So you want a Mac, you want an iPhone,
It's
you
a
want an
luxury
iWatch.
computer brand.
It's a luxury consumer
Luxury
brand.
electronics, yeah.
And there's no competitor now, right? So you got these 5 monopolies. These are just phenomenal business, right? They come up with a new watch, they charge people. You feel insignificant with the old model watch, with the old iPhone. You have an iPhone 17, you're a loser. You need to get the new iPhone 18, right?
You get the 20.
You need to get the 20. I mean, come on, like you can't. You're actually out there in the dating world without an iPhone 20. I mean, it's insane, right?
So wait, what about NVIDIA doesn't have monopoly?
It does.
It does.
Has a monopoly on AI
Yes.
chips, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
But
And Tesla has a monopoly on self-driving cars.
Yeah. So you have all these monopolies, right? So we'd have all these monopolies, right? So we have all these monopolies. Now, what about AI? We're
Who's got
getting
a monopoly on LLMs. Yeah.
Nobody's got this monopoly. So we have,
I think ChatGPT was close to having it,
but not anymore.
but a lot of people switched over a few months ago.
Claude. So I'm just saying, we have all this money that's going into money-losing non-monopolies right now. And that means that the character of the stock market is going to change dramatically. Instead of the stock market being filled with all these absolutely indestructible businesses, we're now going to have the stock market that's going to have a bunch of things that are just losing tons of money and competing against each other in this battle royale. So that's the reality of this thing. Now, a lot of people will say this is a little bit like, 99 in the telecom business. That's when all these telecoms just kind of battled it out. Nokia, right?
Which one of these do you think is the Nokia here? You think it's ChatGPT or?
They're not going to all stick. I mean, they may all stick around. Here's the thing. This may be like the airplane industry where you have American Airlines.
Yeah, exactly.
United,
Delta,
Pan Am, like
Spirit.
Continental,
Southwest,
like Southwest, but they're not going to be.
Which one do you think is Southwest from these right now?
Grok?
Probably Grok, right?
Grok kind of feels like Southwest.
Grok is really useful for like current event stuff.
But anyways, my point is this, because we're talking about AI versus Bitcoin. So I'm going to say, do I think AI is going to be amazing? It's going to be absolutely amazing. Do I think that these people throwing money at these AI IPOs are going to be fine? It's going to be hard because here's the problem. We're talking with these new IPOs, at least $3 trillion of kind of at the pre-IPO value. So let's say 6 trillion post-IPO, maybe. Well, 6 trillion is like 10% of the total stock market value, right? 6 trillion is 20% of the bond market right now. That's where they are now. So for them to do a 10x from here, it almost means that they completely take over the entire stock market. Like
But it's kind of like Uber too. Like Uber, how many rounds they get to round X or something and still be unprofitable? Like they did so many rounds of raising money.
but when they finally went public, it went down
Why?
because it's fully valued. They had no more.
And then they had to raise all their prices. So that's what's going to happen with these too.
They're going to try to raise their prices,
and then you're going to use DeepSeek.
and then you've got the problem is everybody's going to move over to DeepSeek, and that's kind of the ultimate.
So at the end of the day, the strongest ones are the ones with actual profitability built in, or they're going to get sucked up into these other guys. Maybe that could happen too, right?
Right. What I'm just thinking is, this area here could be a profit disaster. It could be like we're going from America being the.
So what could this do to the S&P then? When they get in the S&P and then all their prices are going to drop, you think?
Well, here's the problem. Let's just look at the earnings of the S&P. The earnings of the S&P are not going to be that great.
Well, what's the price to earnings ratio now? It's
about
really
30.
It's insane, right?
I mean, 30. It's high, right?
What's their price? There is negative.
Right, they're all losing money.
Yeah.
Right. So my point is, this is overall, at least short term, there may be a lot of pain as we kind of go through this winnowing down of these things to getting to one
You think
winner.
that's going to drag the whole market down potentially, or no?
Potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is.
But then won't Bitcoin be dragged down with it? Or?
Well, here's the thing. The thing about this is, Bitcoin, there's only 21 million, right, of Bitcoin. And so all the money printing that's going to happen with this is all going to cause money printing. It's going to require money printing, and it's going to cause money printing, because as this value goes up, somebody's going to make an enormous amount of money.
Where's that money going to go?
Well, some of it's going to go to Bitcoin. Right.
Yeah.
If you're the co-founder of Claude and you just cash out, where are you going to put your money?
Solana? No.
No. Florida real estate?
No. Arizona?
No. I mean, you want to. What are you going to do with it? S&P 500? I mean, my point is that this is going to create a lot of money, which could then go into Bitcoin, right? So short term, all the speculative hot money is going into this area right now. It's coming out of Bitcoin, right? So anybody who put Bitcoin in the IPO, in the ETF in January, at least some of them are thinking I should probably take some of it out and park it in the IPO of OpenAI. So what happens if those IPOs don't go well? Then you might want to take it out and put it back into Bitcoin, right?
I guess it depends on if the market is looking at these companies when they IPO as having some future greater profitability margins than they're going to have when they IPO, right?
Well,
ownership of the market. I don't know.
Nobody's ever IPO'd and lost as much money as these companies. This is like a new thing.
Well, Uber was losing money though, no?
Not on this scale. This is a kind of a new scale for losing money. So, our friend Robert, extremely bearish on this stuff. He's like,
Clausen?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard from him. Yeah.
Not Clausen, Caps.
Oh, Caps, yeah.
Very bearish. He's like, look, so I think this is, what I'm trying to say is this, where we're going here, it could also be bad for the U.S. in general, right? Because if the U.S. now is dragged into becoming mainly an AI thing and open, the Chinese are willing to fight back and just hand over DeepSeek stuff. And if DeepSeek is actually as good as Claude, well, then all this stuff is just a complete.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of what they're doing is they're making the open source stuff, like Google too, is making the open source stuff compete
Right.
with these paid ones. It's just eating to their profits, or what little profits they have. And they're hoping to whittle them
Well, that's
down.
what a lot of people don't understand is all this stuff here, you can get pretty much the same kind of thing with about a 1.5 year delay, open source. So you can get ChatGPT 3 if you're willing to live with ChatGPT 3, you can get that open source right now if you can run it. If you have a big enough computer. And even hosted, you're just paying for the hosting costs. So
Yeah.
it's nowhere near as much as the token bills. So anyways, that's my thinking. This post got me a lot of traffic. So hopefully people like what that is. Let's see. We have a few questions here from the audience. Let's see what they have. The AI companies create massive value. Yeah, and so some other people have made this point. Scott Galloway said, look, if you look at the shipping, the railroad business, right? Well, in the 18 starting in 1850 or even earlier, but 1850, railroads were the thing, right? And for almost all from 1880, right? These 30 years, the entire US was dominated by railroads. I think the only real stocks that were trading were railroad stocks. And the problem again was that there was too many of these railroad stocks. I mean, people would just lay a track right next to the other guy's track, and then they would lower the prices, So again, it became incredibly bad area for investors. Cornelius Vanderbilt played it very well, and he became the richest man in America. But he got in, he got out, he sold his stuff, but even him, he got screwed by Gould and Fisk. So this was generally a disaster for investors. Then we have the next big one, electricity, another bust. Huge money was spent electrifying America. It worked out okay for Edison, finally, which created General Electric, but an enormous amount of money was lost in electricity. And, enormous, same problem we went over with telecom, huge loss. And another big one that I missed here, aviation, jet service, again, just tons of providers, American Airlines, United, Continental, no longer with us. So all these things just battling it out and losing. And so where are we now? Where is AI? Scott Galloway said, yeah, it may be like aviation. It may end up creating this general utility that makes everything much more efficient and everything, but the AI companies itself don't end up winning. Anyways, so last question, it confirms your thesis that AI can't capture sustainable differential returns. Yeah, I think that's the difference, right? Data center companies, this had been a very bad. I mean, those of us who remember companies like Exodus back in the 99 era, these things all ended up badly. Now, the facilities are still there, but all the convertible bonds went bust, they died, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, that's my little show and tell. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will talk later.